Welcome to everybody. If you don't know who I am, I did a big introduction to myself on the introduction video. The video is posted on Facebook, but it's also posted on Blackboard. It just explains what needs to be done. I'll review some of that stuff, but I'm not going to go through the whole thing again because it's already on a video. But right now you should have received a Dropbox invite and accepted that. You should friend me on Facebook, and then I can add you to our several pages that we're going to have. You should have looked on Blackboard. Under course materials, there's the syllabus, the first class flyer, and that explains everything in this class. There's also a listing of videos. There's also course materials there, so you can see the kind of stuff that we're going to be talking about this semester. Yeah, so just take a look around there, see what's happening. And the other thing we need to do, if you haven't already, and I think most of you have done already, is make an appointment for yourself on Sunday or Monday morning. And the schedule is also on Blackboard and Facebook. The meetings are going to be half an hour for the moment. But as we get into the groove of the semester, they'll probably get a bit shorter, like 20 minutes or 15 minutes. It depends. Sometimes people like to talk quite a lot, and some people just want to get them over with. We can work that out together. But we will have meetings every week. If you can't make them, then you email me before the meeting, and we can either reschedule, and I'm happy to reschedule, or we can do it via email. But it's extremely important that we are in touch every single week. The other thing you need to do is post an essay, which is describing where you are in your design education, what your goals are, and how you're feeling about everything. Now, we're going to be talking about AI and ChatGPT in this class. And we're going to have an AI assignment, at least one. But please don't use AI for this essay, because this really has to come from you. It really has to be how you literally feel. And AI just makes everything sound exactly the same at the moment. It'll probably change, but for this class, please just write it yourself. It doesn't have to be a big, long thing. It's just where you are, how you're feeling. Okay, and then before we meet, in your Dropbox, put 3 PDFs of your work. Please get in the habit of putting your work on PDFs instead of, say, a JPEG, because on a PDF, I can put a note. And the note can be very specific about something that's on a page, like this particular headline or that particular photo or something like that. It just makes our workflow easier. Any questions so far? Moving on to portfolio. In the world of design, we have advertising, marketing, promotions, branding, book publishing, magazine publishing, graphic design, photography, signage, wayfinding, web design, social media, UI, UX, AI designer, which we're going to talk about in a later week, motion graphics, illustration, TV, movie credits and filmmaking, broadcast design, animation, content for social media. I've no doubt left some stuff out, but you get the picture. There's a lot of this stuff that you guys have all taken classes for. And here is a job ad I found recently, which wants you to tell compelling stories by creating digital and print deliverables, such as infographics, icons, illustrations, leaflets, merchandise, papers, booklets, websites, design visual assets for multiple channels, stay abreast of current trends for branding, layout, typography, color usage, photography, illustration, and graphic design. Now, nobody knows everything. So they are going to want to ask for all of that stuff. But nobody, unless you've been in the business for a while, is going to be able to do all of that stuff to any kind of professional standard. But you want to be able to look at an ad like that and say, I've got about 75% of those things. What holes do I have in my work that I can fill? What things can I add to all the stuff that I have that will make me almost ready for that job? The people asking for all those skills, they're going to assume that you can't do all of that stuff, but you want to fill in as many holes as possible. And this is what you're going to show in your portfolio. So a classic portfolio contains the collection of all your strongest work, showcases your abilities with software, your creative thinking, your understanding of what will help your client, and how your creative ideas will do the job. Your portfolio can contain work from your classes, any internships you've done, work experience, any personal projects, volunteer work you've done for friends or family, your church. In other words, anything that you designed anywhere, as long as you were the one who designed it. So you include evidence of your process. You show the final design, ideations, versions, drawings, or whatever, so people know how you came up with your ideas. If you have a project that you did, say, a couple years ago, and it's terrible, and you're a beginner designer, and you definitely don't want it in your portfolio, but maybe you put in a lot of work. The fact is now you're a much better designer. So the work that you put in back then is not wasted. You did a bunch of thinking about it. You did a bunch of ideas about it. You did a bunch of research. Now that you're a better designer, you can revisit that project and you can make it much more polished, much more professional. You can make the execution very slick. So I will go over these projects with you. We'll discuss strengths and weaknesses. We'll discuss holes that can be filled with a different channel, maybe an animation, just maybe an improvement of the typography, something like that. So I'm being like a creative director, but I'm not realizing my aesthetic. I'm helping you to realize your aesthetic. In addition, you expand projects. You can add channels. You can put in a GIF or a billboard or a subway ad or a magazine ad. And by the way, every single project should have a digital element to it. And showing brand or campaign consistency over all these channels, that's what employers need to see that you can do. And by the way, for the purposes of this class, I'm just going to say designer, but that will mean illustrator or animator or photographer or web designer, any of that stuff. I'm just going to say designer so I don't have to repeat all those titles over and over again. And by the way, all of you, no matter what focus you are, all of you need at least one animation, or maybe a video with some type, or a TikTok, or a reel, or all of those things. Because every single job that I've come across recently, everybody wants a little bit, at least a little bit of that. And if you want to add any useful software to your back pocket, that would probably be After Effects. But we will talk about this individually. You see where you are and what you can add or build on. So some things to watch out for in your projects: spelling errors, low res or inappropriate images, an unclear or overly complicated logo, a website whose navigation is not working properly, boring typography, basic color ideas. Projects that show colors like 100% cyan or 100% magenta or 100% yellow, they tend to look a little bit studenty. So you want to make your color a bit more interesting. And I will tell you over and over again if your type is not legible. And frequently this is the case. So this whole semester is a process of refining your work. You put your work through several versions before it's ready to go to your portfolio. It's not good enough to wait till the end of the semester and then hand everything in. That kind of gets you an F. What's going to work for you is meeting with me every week and continual, thoughtful, creative improvements to all of your work. And that's how it gets good. And that's how you get good. And honestly, it's kind of how it works in the professional world. Constant improvement. So that's a classic portfolio. However, these days, you are more than just a collection of your projects. You are a presence on the internet. You are an entity. So this class, you will also have branding, and the branding will be of yourself, which will include your logo, the fonts, colors, having a website, a resume, and a business card, and a cover letter that all reflect that branding. And it's also not a terrible idea to have an Instagram or a Pinterest account dedicated to you as a designer, separate from your personal stuff. It's not a requirement, but it's actually kind of a good idea. Your social media presence is not just a collection of your projects, but all the other designers that you like, or, art exhibitions, or nice architecture, or fashion. It just shows you as a creative person out in the world. This is kind of expected, but I'm going to talk about that more during the semester. Any questions, anybody? Okay, moving on. So now I'm just going to give a little spiel about other design schools. So we at City Tech, we have a lot of competition. There are students graduating from Parsons and Pratt and RISD and General Assembly and Cooper Union and the Chicago Art Institute and FIT, all these hotshot schools every semester. Students from the top design schools in the world are entering the New York job market. And now remote working is so much more normal. They can live in France, for instance, and compete for work in New York without leaving their kitchen table. But you can go toe-to-toe with them in the design industry and come out ahead. Plenty of City Tech graduates already have. That's why this semester is tough. We are preparing you to take on the design industry and win, and what will make that difference is your world-class portfolio. If you have friended me on Facebook, I've also added you to a page called Ask a City Tech Grad. I mentioned this in the last video. Take a look and see the kind of success that City Tech graduates already achieve, and it's pretty impressive. Also, many professors at City Tech teach at Parsons and Pratt and RISD and NYU and all the other well-known design schools. I myself have taught at Pratt and RISD. The education you're receiving at City Tech is literally frequently taught by the same people who teach at those world-famous design schools. At the end of the semester, this class requires a website and a PDF version of your portfolio. The department wants 3 to 6 projects, depending on their complexity and including the evidence of your process. And I want an animation or a TikTok or a reel or some kind of video element or all of those things. And a little eye candy would be a big plus. I'll talk to you individually about this and come to the mutual agreement with you about what you will need to pass. And that always gets a little bit complicated because it's not like a straightforward thing. You have to have 3, 6 these things. Because some of the projects, like your design team projects, can be enormous. And sometimes you have just like one little piece. So we'll talk about that individually, about what will make a full portfolio for you. If you don't have a website already, please get one. You can code it for yourself if you want, or you can get a template from Squarespace or Wix or Weebly or Adobe Portfolio, or sign up to a freebie site like Behance or Cargo Collective. There's a bunch of them out there. Squarespace does not have a free option, but I think most of the other ones do. Paying for your own site means you can have your own domain name, but at this point, that's not necessary. If you're getting an Adobe Portfolio site, keep in mind that it's only free if you have a subscription to Adobe products. At the moment, you get Adobe through school. When you graduate, if you don't subscribe to Adobe yourself, your portfolio will disappear. I mean, Adobe is pretty much the industry standard. So I suspect most of you will be subscribing to Adobe. But I've also been through a bunch of technology changes over the years, and Quark Express used to be the industry standard, and now nobody uses it. Adobe will be taken down at some point, probably not next year. But just keep in mind, if you have your website not with Adobe, you don't have to worry about that stuff. After I have a meeting with you online on Sunday or Monday, you will take the feedback I give you in our meeting and improve your work. When we both agree that you have completed a project, you send me a new project. Ideally, you will have 3 projects on the go all the time. Different projects require more or less work. So I will go through your work in detail, and I'll pile it on. But I don't expect everything to be done every single time. What I need from you every week is steady progress, starting at the beginning of the semester all the way through to the end. For next week, the week of the 11th and the 12th of February, in addition to updating your project work, please send me your resume. So you don't need to make a big fuss about designing it yet. What I really want to concentrate on is the content, to make sure you have everything you need in there. Check the first class flyer on Blackboard. There's a resume outline there that shows everything you need to include on your resume. Design resumes are different from other resumes. We need to include, all kinds of different software and stuff. It all lists it all out on the first class flyer. And if you do that, it'll save you and me lots of time going over the content of your resume. Resumes, they go on for a while. Don't worry about it too much. Your work on your resume doesn't take place of the work you're doing on your projects. So any assignments that I give you in videos, and they're short, they tend to be very short. But every week you still need to be working on your project. So you're doing all of these things at the same time. If you're not signed up to LinkedIn yet, create an account this week. Link to everybody you know, including me. Finally, there's a lot of talk about AI. That's artificial intelligence. I'll be giving you a presentation about it in a couple of weeks. Meanwhile, if you haven't already, take a look. There's ChatGPT, there's Adobe Firefly, there's a Photoshop version. There's a bunch of them out there. Try it out, see what kind of results you get. Read some articles, watch some videos, listen to people talk about it. It's going to transform our industry. I've been through several transformations of the industry, and they changed everything. This one's going to change everything even more. But as designers, we need to know about this stuff. We need to know more than the people that are hiring you. They will think AI can do everything. You need to be able to explain it to them. So just start to get an idea of what's happening with that. And we'll talk more about it. It's a complete Wild West, new to me as it is to you. It's exciting times. Okay, so that's everything I need to talk about now. Does anyone have any questions?
I have a question. I was thinking that what if some people are not like really best on like web designing and stuff like that, to code and stuff. I was like, isn't there an option where we can just do PDF and stuff
Sorry,
for the portfolio and stuff?
sure, but you still need a website. There's free ones out there. I'll go over it with you, but they make it pretty easy these days. You don't need to code stuff. You just upload stuff. You just need to brand it with your own look and then have your PDFs or JPEGs or whatever easily accessible to somebody who randomly comes across your website or is looking at your work because they found you on LinkedIn. You just want to make it really easy for people to find you. And that
By
means,
using by using a template, right? Like
yeah,
you said.
just
Okay. All right.
easy peasy. You don't need complicated stuff. If you're a web designer, you can be as fancy as you want. But if you're not, just, yeah, straightforward is good. Fancy is, honestly, if things are too fancy, it's too much work for the person looking at your website. So you end up giving them work to do. You want to make it very simple and accessible. Yeah, so anybody who doesn't have a website, sign up for something right away. Anyone else?
Yes, Professor, can you just repeat the ones that were free?
I think Wix, Wix has one, Weebly, Weebly, Behance, 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 I think it's Francais. That one is very clunky, but the industry likes it for some reason. And so they will go check people there. But if you just Google free portfolio websites, you'll find a bunch of them as well.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Anyone else? Does anyone else have any questions about anything?
What are the links for the meetings going out?
Links for the meeting. We're going to be meeting on Facebook.
Oh, okay.
Because the nice thing about Facebook is you can actually ring somebody with a telephone call. And it goes bleep, bleep, but whereas Zoom, you're just sitting around waiting. So if somebody finishes early, I can call you. And then we can start our meeting quicker.
Okay.
Yeah, and you don't have to bother with links or anything. Yes,
So I have one more question. So what just to remind myself, what's due for next week?
well, for tomorrow and Monday, you need to have your personal essay and 3 project PDFs. And then next week, updated projects and your resume. But the resume is not this week, it's the following week.
The following week. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyone else? I think we're pretty good. Okay, but if anyone has any more questions, stick them on Facebook. And if any of you have not friended me on Facebook yet, friend me so I can stick you on the page, because I think I'm still missing like 5 people on Facebook. And if you can't stand Facebook, which I know a lot of people can't, just sign up for the semester and then you can ditch it later. It's just easier to organize things on Facebook.
And you said also to add you on LinkedIn, right?
Yeah, just link to me on LinkedIn. That's just a sort of ongoing thing of presenting yourself as a professional. It's not so much for this class. It's more for your, internet presence, basically.
Okay.
I think we're good. Okay, well, very nice to see you, and I will speak to you one-on-one tomorrow and Monday.
All right. See you tomorrow, Professor.
See you
Bye.
tomorrow.
Bye.
Have a good day.
You too.
Take care.
Bye. Thank you, Professor. Take care.